Hey everybody, today's episode of Finding Freedom is one of the most important episodes that I've ever done. If you remember, all the way back in 2016, seems like decades ago, there was a very tragic shooting in Orlando, at an Orlando nightclub, a gay nightclub. 49 people died. In today's episode, we'll be talking to an individual who provided information to federal agents that could have prevented that shooting. Before we start the show, I want to talk to you guys about another great podcast out there, one that I've been listening to. It's called Paws to the Wall. It is hosted by two libertarian brothers, Mike and Nick Paul. They've interviewed experts on all kinds of different topics. Of course, some common names you might be familiar with, Scott Horton, Gene Epstein, Jason Stapleton, Brian McWilliams, even myself, John Odermatt. I've been on that show. Awesome time talking with those guys. They know their way around liberty, and also they know their way around a bunch of different topics, which they also bring on experts to talk about history, jiu-jitsu, cars, music, barbecue, and so much more. Guys, you want to check this podcast out. It's called Paws to the Wall. That's P-A-U-L-S, to the wall. You can listen to it wherever podcasts are found. Go check it out today.
We are born free, and we will die free. The time in between, though, that's complicated. In that time, governments, institutions, and our egos will limit our ability to find true freedom in this life. These are real stories of real people overcoming the odds, persevering in justice, and unlocking their potential. Welcome to Finding Freedom. Here's your host, John Odermatt.
Welcome in, guys. Welcome to, like I talked about at the top of the show here, a very, very important episode of Finding Freedom here on the Lions of Liberty podcast. And, I don't want to take up much of your time here today. Very important that we get to today's guest, but I do want to let you know ahead of time, the content in this interview is maybe the most important content I've ever had before. And the guest that I'm talking to, Dalton Morrow, who I will introduce in a minute, you got to understand, he's currently in a halfway house, and we did this interview over a cell phone. So there are a couple sound issues, little things. I'm probably more critical of myself and the sound quality than most people. You'll be able to get through it. I mean, this is a story that needs to be told. It needs to get out there. So please, I really want to encourage you to share this story with your friends. We're going to be talking about and revealing some information about the Orlando shooting in 2016. Dalton brought information to authorities from his cellmate at the time that was communicated from someone who was talking to and in a relationship with the Orlando shooter. I'll introduce Dalton in just a minute here. Before we do that, I just want to encourage you guys, if you haven't yet, and why haven't you, please head over and check out the Burnin' Daylight podcast. Friend of the show, Matt McKinley, bringing great content. Matt McKinley, if you don't know him, he's a cowboy, legitimate cowboy, and he wanted to create a show where he could bring on other cowboys and just talk about cowboy shit and tell stories, have fun, cut up. It's a great show, and I encourage everyone to check it out. Even if you don't like cowboys, which honestly, if you don't like cowboys, are you even an American? Probably not. I'm not going to argue with you, but you're probably not an American. But if you want to become an American, you can start by listening to Burnin' Daylight with Matt McKinley and listening to some cowboy shit. All right, let's get rolling with today's episode. My guest today on Finding Freedom is Dalton Morrow. Dalton was indicted by a federal grand jury in 2009, indicted on drug trafficking charges. In 2011, he pled guilty and was sentenced to 151 months in prison. Fast forward 2016, and we'll talk about this. I don't want to talk about too much now, but because Dalton's going to give us the whole story here. But he came across some information from another inmate on a potential terrorist attack, and he ended up conveying that to a special agent with the knowledge, thinking it would help him to get out of prison earlier. We'll get into the details of what happened after that. Let's introduce Dalton. Dalton, welcome to Finding Freedom.
Hey, John. Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, good to have you here, man. And our mutual friend Malik reached out to me, connected the two of us together with this story a couple weeks ago. And when you were telling me what happened to you, I honestly couldn't believe it. That's a lie. I could believe it because I've seen stuff similar to this happen before, but it's just it's mind blowing what happened. And I want to get to that. As I kind of talked about in the intro, it involves you getting some information from another inmate about a terrorist attack and relaying that. And we'll go through that whole thing, how that went down. Before we do that, just so my audience gets to know a little bit more about you, if you could kind of share some background on yourself, where you're from. What your life was like in that time, leading up before you went to prison?
I'm originally from Bowling Green, Kentucky, where I was born and raised. I came from a background, I guess, of poverty. I come from somewhere where, it was hard on us all. And the younger guys had to get out and try to find a way to provide early on in life. So, which pushed me into the streets, and I became a drug distributor, which landed me in prison and has us here today. I ended up serving 21 years total in prison for 2 ounces of crack total. No guns, no violence, no gangs, no conspiracy. 2 ounces. But in Kentucky, they still have their own law, so they do what they want to do. That's about it.
And right now, I'm talking to you. You're in a federal halfway house right now, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So you went to prison. You started serving your sentence in 2011. So when did you go into the halfway house?
March 17th this year, last month.
And you said you'll be out, September?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Mm-hmm. So just take us through what happened with your arrest. How did that go down? Had you been arrested previously? Prior to that, or was it your first time?
No, it was actually my second time. When I was 18, I was put out of my house. My mother, they put me out for some reasons, and I started hustling, selling drugs. And 6 months after my 18th birthday, a family friend, 40-year-old family friend, called me and told me to get him some drugs. I got him some drugs and was arrested. And I did 9 years for that. I got him maybe a total of an ounce, and I went to prison for 9 years at 18, 19. So I came home in 2007, the end of the recession, and got back into it, and 18 months later, I was busted again for selling an ounce, and it gave 151 months. So I was foolish for a while. I guess that's what I can say. I made a few foolish mistakes, and it cost me a lot.
Yeah, so you pled guilty in to that indictment in 2009. What were the reasons why you decided to plea?
Because of the threat of more time. I argued a few factors, and my lawyer said if I didn't plead guilty, I would, 851, and I could face a life sentence. So it was time to just get out of the way and accept it. Even if I wasn't guilty for that crime, I had some things I wasn't supposed to do anyway. So it was better to just take the time and go to prison.
Mm-hmm. So you're serving this time. It's your second time doing time in prison. Was it different than your first experience? Was it like, no big deal because you've been there before? Were there differences?
It was totally different, John. I guess I can say I don't know what other states do, how they do prison time, but in Kentucky we don't have a lot of politics, a lot of racism, a lot of stabbings, a lot of, it just doesn't go down. And you're always at home, close to your family. In a federal prison, you have, politics, racism, stabbings, killings over cutting people in the line. They might ship you. I was shipped to California. I was shipped to Texas. I was shipped to Pennsylvania. And I didn't come from a family of money. I come from a family of poverty. So getting visits was, it was impossible to get visits being so far away. So it made it a little harder. There was more animalistic thinking when it comes to the inmates in the federal prison. The abnormal ways that they seen as normal. Like I said, he cut me in line, I'm gonna stab him for cutting me in line. You take a man's life for cutting you in line. But that's the mentality they had, so that's what made it hard. The inmates' mentality.
So take us through, and I want to take our time going through this part of your story because it's so important. But you came across some information about a potential terrorist attack. Take us through, and you don't have to name names. I guess you can if you want to. Take us through exactly what happened at the beginning part. How did you come across this information, and what happened there?
Before I go into this, I want to clarify something and even though I live a different life now, I work hard. A nonprofit organization. I'm trying to do things right. I want to clarify that where I come from, being an informant it's a no. So
right.
I want to clarify that never have I been an informant on any situation dealing with my way of life or my way of living. I used to entertain. This situation with terrorist attack on American soil, to me, it didn't count as being an informant. To me, it was, I got to save my country, I got to save my people, I got to do the right thing. To me, I guess what I want to say, like a rat or a stool pigeon, they call it, somebody who tells on his friends or tells on his partners or his buddies, or and I've never did that, never would do such a thing. ISIS was not my friends, not my buddies. They would kill my family if given the opportunity. So with that being said, if you rape a woman, I'm gonna tell you. If I catch you raping a kid, I'm gonna report it. Things of that nature is just out of the norm. So I want to clarify that because I don't want to hear oh man, he's an informer.
Yeah. You're talking about. You're basically talking about violent crimes. You're talking basically an act of war. A potential act of war that you're talking about here. So
that's right.
Yeah, that's important clarification.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was in prison, and this guy, he just self-surrendered. He came in, he just got off the bus or whatever. Nobody wanted to be at celly with him. So I allowed him to come cell with me. At the time, we had access to cell phones. So he's calling somebody every day, and every time we get on the phone, he was emotional. Now let me understand it. The guy was homosexual, I guess. Is it the correct word to use?
I think so. You can say gay.
Okay. Well, part of the LGBTQ.
Yeah.
And people didn't want to sell with him, feeling like he was because of that. So I don't have a problem with that community. So I allowed him to sell with me. So and he was a Spanish guy, of course. There's only black guys on the walk and white guys. Like I said, the racism thing. So with him being Spanish and gay, nobody wanted to sell with him. So I allowed him to sell with me. And he's making phone. I'm letting him use my cell phone. He's making regular phone calls to a guy named Omar, right? So he's getting off the phone. He's getting emotional, and so finally we decided. He came out with it. He told me that he had joined. I thought it was. Let's back up. I never heard of a terrorist group or anybody Muslim taking and accepting a gay Spanish guy. I was like, what? Nah. But he told me how him and Omar and others had traveled to other countries and et cetera, et cetera. And so you got to give me background on that. Some Chinese couple in New York was the one who had the documents and the passports and all the things made up. That's where they would meet. The meeting point was New York. And, the more and more he talked, the more people he got. So now I would eavesdrop on this phone conversation with Omar. And I'm hearing it. So finally, I'm hearing Omar saying, I'm hearing him tell Omar, be careful, I don't think it's a good idea, et cetera, et cetera. So when he got off the phone, I asked him one night, I said, we got to stay them talk. I said, what's going on with Omar? Why do you keep pressing him about the situation? What is he crying? So he gave me a story. He told me Omar was really married. Omar was ashamed of being gay. They were secret lovers. And he got to tell me about the whole plot in Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
What he said was, he didn't say the particular nightclub, as the documents say, as you can see in the documents. I mean, well, too late. But he didn't say a particular nightclub. He said a nightclub or closest to Disney World he can get. But he did say it's going to be the 1st of June. So every day now I'm milking him to milk information from Omar. And the information I would get from him, I would send it to, I could send it to Rand Paul, send it to Rand Paul. I sent it to White House. I sent it to
What made you send it to Rand Paul? Just because he was your senator in Kentucky?
Right. He's from Bowling Green, and you know, every time he can get some fame or pretend like he cares, he usually jumps right on it. You know, that's how he is. But I sent it to the agent. I sent it to the White House. I sent a letter to the Department of Justice. At the time, Eric Holder might have been in office.
So this was, it would have been Eric Holder. So this was March, right? March of 2016. Is that right?
15 or 16? It was 15.
Well, the shooting in Orlando was June 2016.
Okay, 16. Yeah, 16.
Yeah, so it was March. Yeah, so March 2016. So I guess just to backtrack. So after the first time you start hearing about this stuff, and you're overhearing, your Sally talking about it. Like, when was the first time you thought, I gotta come forward with this? I gotta do something.
Well, I'll wrestle with it, Don. I'll be honest with you. Coming from where I come from, like, you're not supposed to be an informant under no circumstances. So I believe I got to seeing my kids and people, my community's kids at Disney World around June. You know what I mean? Like I said, the information was given me for a reason. Not the Bible thump, but I'm a spiritual guy. I believe in God. So God gave it to me for a reason. Now, and if I don't say nothing and it happens, and my family had to be on vacation, or somebody from Bowling Green had to be on vacation and get killed in a terrorist attack that I could have stopped, then God, would punish me, because he set me in a position to get it for a reason. It was my thought process. So I decided then I had to do something.
So did you contacted, Senator Rand Paul, and who you contacted a special agent? How did you find, like, I guess, a special agent? How did you know who to contact, or like, how did you go through that process?
Well, special agent was on my case. He was the one who arrested me.
Okay. So that was the guy you reached out to. And do you remember the time frame of when you reached out to the special agent?
I'm pretty sure it was March. It was March.
And was that through your lawyer, or was that you directly?
I called him directly first, and he advised me to go to my lawyer. So we spoke. I called my lawyer, told my lawyer situation, Brad Kaufman, and I emailed my lawyer some things, and he reached out to my lawyer like, "Hey, I need to get the information." So he goes, he gets the information from my lawyer. And if you look in the documents, it shows where, by that time I was saying, "Hey, I'm gonna give you guys this regardless." But I would like to be free. I don't want to be stuck in prison among these guys who have zero tolerance for being an informant. So I want you to get back to this hostile environment. That's what I need to be removed from this hostile environment once it comes out. So he agreed to it with my attorney, but of course, as you see, I'm still here, and they ignored the information.
So he agreed to it, but was there anything in writing? I mean, was there any way to prove that he agreed to it?
Well, honestly, the agreement, I want to say, by him picking, like my lawyer said in Western, by him coming and picking up the information from my attorney, he was, and my attorney advised me at the time what I wanted out of it. I wanted to be out of the hostile environment, and him taking it was an agreement.
Okay. Yeah, it's and I mean even just that aside, just the moral right thing to do would be, getting this information and sticking to your word on it. But so this guy, the special agent, takes this information to the FBI, to law enforcement.
He says he did.
He says he did. He might have just done nothing.
Right. I got kind of been doing nothing because Omar was flagged in 2014. So as you took this information, then you tell me they just outright ignored it, knowing he had been flagged and been suspect with this type of activity already.
Mm-hmm.
No, I doubt it.
So Omar was flagged, and then your cellie at the time. How long did he remain in your cell? Was that
maybe a week, 2 weeks?
Okay. So by the time June rolled around, you didn't have any contact with him. By the time the shooting actually occurred,
There was a whole new prison. I woke up one morning. I'll tell you what happened, John. I woke up one morning and I'm fixing my coffee and I like to watch the news in the morning. So I go in and I'm watching the news. I got my coffee. I'm sipping it. But I'm talking to a guy beside me, and he said, "Man, that's crazy, ain't it?" And I said, "What happened?" I said, "I see all the activity on TV." He said, "You hear about what happened last night?" And I said, "No, what happened?" "Man, there's a shooting in Orlando, Florida, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera." And I get to talk, "Oh, yeah? Man, how many people died? Man, that's crazy." Ooh. And I got up, and I stopped, and I looked at the news. I said, "Oh, shit." It dawned on me that was the shooting.
Jeez.
I said, "Oh." So then it became real to me, like, oh. And at the time, I was happy that I relayed the information. Before I was happy I relayed the information, they stopped it. So I immediately went and called my lawyer and said, "You see the news?" And he was waiting on my call already. He had already understood what was going on.
Yeah, and you had, so the information that you conveyed, you told the special agent that it was Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what else did you tell him?
Beginning of the summer, June, told me to be June. Over the phone, I told him a guy named Omar, and then he told me to relay it to my lawyer. So when I got off the phone, I decided, okay, I'm not gonna give him all of it. I'm gonna give him just the mashed potatoes and the gravy. I'm gonna give him the meat because I want them to come and sit down and talk to me and take it seriously. So I gave him the beginning of the summer. I gave him the terrorist organization. I gave him the city it would be in, city and state it would be in, and around the area it would be in.
Did he know you? Did he know you were getting that information from your cellie at the time from phone calls?
No, cell phones illegal, John. In prison, of course not.
So how did you tell him that you knew about it?
I told him that I did tell him that I got it from him, but I didn't tell him the cell phone situation. I was sitting here talking to the guy who was going to do the Orlando terrorist attack.
Right. Man, that's this is a crazy story. So, I mean, obviously the Orlando shooting, horribly tragic. I think 49 people were killed in that shooting. Obviously, it makes you wonder where the disconnect was. Obviously they didn't stop the shooting. So obviously they never circled back around to actually investigate back to where you were leading them. And, we could speculate, go down different conspiracies on why or why not. Could be laziness. Could be a whole host of different reasons. Laziness is probably one of the bigger reasons, but
right, I agree. Yeah.
Could be a whole host of different reasons. Could be some other nefarious things that are at play.
I'll tell you something that bothers me about this whole situation, John. Omar's wife was taken to trial and charged with knowing before the terrorist attack happened. She knew about it, right?
That's a good point.
Luckily for her, she was acquitted, and got to go back home to her family. But she was dragged through the mud and belittled by her peers, and she went through a lot because of this. And I'm thinking, okay, after this, she was acquitted. Shouldn't somebody turn around and charge themselves? Shouldn't somebody, feds from the federal government charge themselves? They were aware before the terrorist attack took place. So you charge this woman with being aware of the terrorist attack, but they was aware as well. It just bothers me.
You know, an interesting point on that you just made me think of. So they charged Omar's wife, trying to convict her. Obviously, they were going through Omar's phone records, looking at who he's talking to. You would think that would have led them back to his boyfriend at the time, and they would have seen this activity happening right at that time. There's something else going on here that
I agree.
There's a reason why they're not digging, and it might just be they don't want people to know that they possibly could have been prevented.
Yeah, because no one's still to this day. That's something else that doesn't sit right. But still to this day, no one's came and seen me, even as a suspect. Even as being involved. Even no one's came to see me and talk to me about it. Period. And I just think it's too big of a deal not to come and say. Even how they do, even try to implement me. You never did that. Just kind of like, we don't want to talk about it. And I have a couple of journalists from big media outlets that reached out to me and asked to come and see me, but the warden denied them. And then they advised me, I would leave this alone if I was you. Just let it go, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to let the families know, because what about the survivors and the families of the victims? I think they have the right to know that this could have been prevented, that the United States government could have prevented this. And I don't want to be quiet. I keep hearing, they might arrest you or put you back in prison for speaking on it. Yeah, I don't. I think everybody has the right to know. And hopefully an investigation opens up and we can figure out what went on, why that information was handled so recklessly, why nothing was done, why there's allowed to die.
Yeah, I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, I mean, before this interview leading up, I'm a little bit nervous publishing this, but it needs to be out there because it's the truth of what happened, and you lived through this, and you've seen all of the documents. I think you had a lawyer, but you also represented yourself some. Is that right?
Right. Well, the lawyer just handled he was a family friend. Rest in peace. He passed away. And
sorry
Brad
to hear that, man.
Brad was always there for me, no matter what. But the paperwork side of it, I would do. The negotiations, he would do. So we kind of tag team, I guess you could say. Yeah.
So when they came back and denied you, your I guess I don't know if it'd be clemency or I don't know what it would have been considered at that time, or just letting you out. What was their reasoning for doing that?
The prosecutor says even though the agent may have made a deal, she never agreed to anything. It's disturbing because she says it wasn't her motions. In hindsight, Morrow did provide accurate information to a terrorist attack. But that's not enough to. This woman just gave me 12 and a half years over less than an ounce of crack cocaine. What are you talking? What? How is that? What are you? There's not enough to let me go home to get me out of this hostile environment before they find out that I'm in here. Because ISIS has people in federal prison. There's a lot of terrorists walking around with nubs, and it's where they send them to. It's where they send their terrorists to, federal prisons. So the Muslims is the deepest, the biggest part in prison. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I'm in this hostile environment. Get me out of there. What do you? And she just refused to. I believe it's personal though.
So you've had to live these past, 4 years, 5 years, however long it's been, with basically looking over your shoulder.
Oh, every day. Every day.
What does that do to your psyche? I mean, how does that? What does that do to you as a person? It's got to make you kind of anxious, right?
I'll tell you what, John. They had me at a halfway house where 2 weeks before I came, an inmate was walking out of the halfway house. Two of them, one of them was shot down right in front of the door, right? So then the day that I got here, right across the street, another person got shot. So every day I think, I'm going to set and duck right here. Once this comes out, I'm going to set and duck. So yeah, of course I went back. Yeah.
You got to September. It's crazy that you can't get out sooner. just for a little bit of drugs, and you provide information that could have saved, 49 people's lives and a bunch of injuries, and they won't let you out. Just absolutely insane.
I have a clemency pending still. I haven't been denied, so I have a clemency pending. What I had there with you was it was dealing with the courts, with the judge. I have a clemency pending as well.
Okay, so that's I guess that's what I was getting at before. So it'd be separate than any clemency. What you're doing with the courts.
Right.
Okay. So how does this? I mean, you talked about a little bit at the beginning here about you're not a snitch. Your reasoning for doing this. I mean, do other inmates know that you did this? Like, what have you gotten? What kind of response have you gotten from other people in there?
Yeah, they know, and I've had a few fist fights, dealing with it. Luckily for me, I got shipped to a low security prison. It was kind of like put the knives away, and then you got to fight. So it was kind of, I'm kind of a big guy, so I didn't, I was able to keep a few of them off of me, I guess you would say.
Is there anything else about this story that we need to talk about that I've missed? Any other important pieces?
John, I think that I don't want to sound. You asked me earlier something about my psychic, about where I'm at mentally, right? And I don't want to sound like some crazy conspiracy theories or some. With some nights, I dreamed that I was, that I could see that club, that I was there, and I was around the area. I could feel the heat, and I feel like sometimes they're talking to me. That's why I never stop trying to advocate and trying to get it out there, because their families need to know. America needs to know. So we pay the government to protect us, especially from terrorists, especially from other countries coming in our country and doing what these people did. They want to be heard, John. Nobody's listening. Like you hear about the other shootings every year, the anniversaries of the Parkland shooting and the Vegas shootings, but these poor people get swept under the rug. You don't hear speak on the Orlando shootings. I've asked people about it. Just, you remember what Orlando shootings? What was that? What was that? You talking about the ones in Vegas, or you talking about the one these poor people been swept under the rug? And I get the wonder is because they was gay, it's because they was Latino. What makes their situation not as important as the rest? These people, I'm going to be their voice. I'm going to make people remember them. I'm going to make people understand we could have saved them. And if I go back to prison, so be it. I'm not going to let these people be forgotten, because they were just as important as the rest of us.
Absolutely. And that's a really good point. You never hear about the Orlando shooting. After I talked to you on the phone about this a couple of weeks ago, I couldn't remember when it was. I didn't know if it was like 2010, or I had no idea. I didn't know if it was 2 years ago or 10 years ago. So I had to look it back up and kind of, reacclimate myself and read about it, just because you're exactly right. It's not something that anybody ever talks about, which is really, really strange. And
right.
It's really like when you talk about a terrorist attack involving ISIS or involving like 9/11 was Al Qaeda, but I guess to say involving a terroristic organization from the Middle East, it's the second biggest terrorist attack since 9/11, right? I guess
second biggest on American soil since 9/11. Yes, exactly.
I guess Vegas would be considered, I don't know how many people died there, but that was considered a domestic terrorist attack, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows if that's accurate or not.
It goes back to, I know somebody's not going to agree with me, but or don't want to hear his name. We try not to say his name as much, but it goes back to what President Trump was saying with the media. Somebody's controlling the media. Somebody told the media to dumb this down, to not speak on it, to let it be washed away. Because the second biggest terrorist attack on American soil, we're not speaking on it. We speak on 9/11 every year, all year long. What made these people less significant? What makes these people less important? They're Americans. They're our people. They pay their taxes and they have families and they breathe and they love and they smiled and they, what makes them? How do we forget about them? Why are they not important anymore?
It's crazy, man. So looking at you and looking at, your life looking forward here, you get out in September of this year. Can you just kind of talk about, looking forward to that? What are some things you're looking forward to once you get your freedom back?
Well, right now I'm working on starting a magazine. I want to do a federal halfway house in West Kentucky if they don't have any. And I have a nonprofit organization that I just put together called We Are One. And with that, I want to, where I'm from, I feel like we haven't addressed the root of the problem with the crime. Like we'll do the Boys and Girls Club and Big Brother and Big Sister and go get one of these little kids out of their house for an hour a day if they're going to change their lives. But the root of the problem is the parents. I want to get them educated off drugs in the workplace, teach them how to articulate their words, just show them some things. Stop buying the designer clothes and shop at Walmart. Walmart's nice, I want to sit down and really get back. A lot of guys that were at the height of the drug game that I was, they'll go to prison and come out and go work every day and stop selling drugs, and that's that. They just leave the mess they made behind. Okay, I made a mess. Well, I know the life I lived in the streets affected the future generations. I know people looked up to me with the glamour and the glitz and the clothing stores. And it's not the story I want to leave. That's not the impression I want to leave on them. I want to go back and say, listen, I was wrong. I was misled and I misled you. Here's what we need to be doing. And it's possible to get rich legally if that's your goal. If you allow your mind to absorb that and understand that, it's a lot of hard work, but so I want to go back and really clean my community up, John. I really want to go back and not just my community. I want to be everywhere cleaning up. I want to help this violence. I used to be an advocate with rap. I love listening to rap music. Now every time I turn on, it's talking about killing each other. I don't understand. Like, what are we doing wrong? What are we doing wrong? So I want to dig deep and hope that I can save somebody. 21 years in prison for 2 ounces of crack. It was too harsh for me, and I don't want somebody else to go through that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you're hitting the nail on the head, man, and that really is admirable that you want to do that with your time. I mean, culture is so important. It influences everything. And yeah, we do live in a very materialistic culture where, people, even if they don't have money, they want to, show that they put on the front that they do. And all that does is set up a situation where you end up doing things that, could put you or your family at risk, and that's not the best way to go about life. But Dalton,
I want
go ahead.
I apologize. I wanted to. I'm looking for a way to find the families too, the survivors, and the families of the ones that was passed away. I really want to talk to them, John. I envision a big church, a big auditorium, and just us talking. You know what I mean? Just me telling them what I told them, and honestly, when it comes down to it, I'm gonna walk in there with the documents, John. I'm gonna give them the documents and let them see for themselves, and let them come and arrest me. But I want the families to know the truth. I really want to talk to them. I want to be around them. I want to let them know that somebody is still mourning with them.
And you brought up the documents are sealed, right? They're considered a national security risk. Is that accurate?
Right. Yeah.
I meant to talk about that at the beginning, but I forgot. So that's a very important piece of this.
I think she said classified national security. I think that's what
classified. Yeah, classified. Yeah. So, when they do that, they change or they unclassify stuff. Maybe 10 years, 20 years from now, they could unclassify it. But what good is that going to do then? They unclassified. It's 20 years later. And they say it's a national security risk. It's probably more than anything. It's just it's an embarrassment risk for showing what they missed.
Right.
But I think a lot of times that's what this stuff is. And people say it's a grand conspiracy. Maybe it is. I'm not saying it could be. Who knows? But probably more likely it's just laziness and incompetence.
I begged the judge to unseal it. I begged the judge to unseal it. He refused to unseal it. I begged him. And I said, just take the names out. Just take the names out. So they use the excuse, well, something might happen to you if we unseal it. Okay, well, you already let 49 people perish. I mean, what am I? I'm 24. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you talking about? Unseal it. Let the families know. Let America know.
Yeah, they're the only thing they're concerned with is covering their own ass, and this makes them look like a bunch of assholes, to put it bluntly. But I think that's it. We're running out of time here, but I did want to give you some time, just to take at the end here. If there's anything else you want to promote, or anything else that any parting words of wisdom that you want to give.
Really, I asked everybody to talk about this more. I asked you to go do your research on this attack, and be a voice for these people. Be a voice for the ones we lost. It's just sad the way we just forget about these people. That's my whole focus right now is making sure we don't forget about them. Is to refresh your memory. They need your voice, because it could be you. It could happen to anybody. The government shouldn't be allowed to, I guess John said, be lazy or drop the ball and just keep going. Like, okay, you got it. Let's keep going. It shouldn't be allowed. I have a couple of social media platforms. I'm going to be speaking on it a little more. My real name is one of my Facebook page. I have my assistant who's really into a lot, helping people and things of that name, Sharia Hester. She's setting up some accounts. I'm going to do everything in my power to get this out there, to get the voice, to get their voice heard. I like to team up with some people on my nonprofit, and try to, not just my city, but other cities come together and do some things. I have a friend of mine, cousin of mine, brother. His name is Robert Deshaun Boyd. He wrote a book on how to clean your credit up in 180 days. We're going to try to help people in our community know more about credit, know more about, getting their credit together, getting their life together. John, I got a lot I'm doing. It's a book called Who's Zooming Who. It just came out by Terrence Giles, a friend of mine. He's on the board of my nonprofit. We're trying to do everything we can to kind of buckle down and show guys the prison out the route. You can do something different. You put your mind to it. You don't have to go to prison and learn what we learn. You can stay right out here. We're going to reach out and teach you. If they reach out to us, we're going to help everybody we can help avoid prison, avoid this life altogether.
100%. And, just to say it again, I mean, you talked about it at the beginning there, your statement, the families, the people who lost lives here in this incident, 49 lives, 49 people who lost a family, 49 families who lost a family member. It could have been prevented, and someone needs to be held accountable for it. That's at the end of the day. I mean, the government doesn't get off the hook. If this happens to a private citizen, doing something wrong like this, they would be held accountable. I mean, you ended up coming up on what, 10 years in prison for just a little bit of drugs.
I really, actually, John, I was arrested in 2009 in February. I just came home in March. So actually I did 12 years in a month. 12 years in prison for a nonviolent crime. Just no guns, no conspiracy, no violence. Yeah, I've seen murderers get out sooner.
It's crazy.
But that's just what it is. I'm sorry. I would add something. It's something I want people to really go look, read. That's coming up thinking that selling drugs is cool, or thinking that disrespecting women are cool, or thinking that bashing gays and being racist is cool. There's a book called Message to the Little Homies by Derek Simmons. I think think it needs to be read too. I want to promote that book for Derek because I think he did a great job of trying to steer. And he did 19 years in prison, and he's trying to steer kids away from prison.
That's great. I'll link to that too, and everything else that you're plugging on the show notes page. So go to lionsofliberty.com to find that. And that's it, man. I mean, we'll be talking, here probably in the fall once you get out, and we'll get an update on you where everything is. But be well and stay safe.
All right, you too, John. Thank you for having me.
All right, man. Peace, Dalton.
All right.
All right, guys, taking a quick break here. Last week, I talked to you about Tyler Colford, also known as Crypto Man, and he's featured on a track with Intrinsic. It's called First World Problems. Basically, what it's doing is it's talking about different concepts are woven throughout the track, cancel culture, grifters, inflation, innovation, all kinds of different things. It's really, really interesting track. The video dropped this past week. It is amazing too. Actually, the Taxation is Death mug that we sell in the Lions of Liberty store, lionsofliberty.store. You can pick yours up today. Makes the debut in the video. Going to link to the video on the show notes page. But please, on top of that, of course, like the video, share the video. Please go wherever you listen to your music, iHeartRadio, whichever one of these places where you listen to music, please like and follow Crypto Man. And please like this song, share with your friends. And it's just an awesome song, guys. So I got a clip for you. Check it out.
Cost of education when internet is free. Blind window makers who simply cannot see. Rumble, everything cancel by the hundreds. Rumble, everything cancel. Shake your ass out in a landfill. Livable wage, you're born in a major. Standards change like when we need higher. Minimum wage, inflation, danger.
Hope you all enjoyed that interview on Finding Freedom. Another awesome guest. And hopefully you guys also have subscribed to the Lions of Liberty podcast, and you're getting all three of our unique shows in your little listening device delivered to your ears. If you haven't, please do that. Just go to your app, you know how to do it, and subscribe. You can also leave us a 5-star review and a nice comment. We would prefer if you did it on Apple Podcasts, but anywhere you can on the internet, please leave us a positive comment. Also, the 3 shows that we have, Monday's show with Mark Claire, our flagship program, our longest running program, and on Wednesday, Electric Liberty Land with Brian McWilliams. Those guys have been killing it, and I am so excited about the direction of Lions of Liberty. We're seeing some awesome numbers right now, and we're going to continue to grow, so it's great stuff. If you want to support us, we would love that too. Please go to patreon.com/Lions of Liberty. You can support us for as little as a couple bucks, or if you get in at a higher level, you get merchandise and access to us, and all the way up to you can advertise on the show or get to even produce a show. So check it all out, patreon.com/Lions of Liberty. And if you haven't checked it out yet, please consider checking out the Lions of Liberty store, where we have some awesome t-shirts. We have a Taxation is Death t-shirt with an awesome design. We have a Wax On, Tax Off t-shirt. And we're always coming up with new ideas and adding new t-shirt designs to the store. Check that out at lionsofliberty.store. And if you're in the Pride, you get a discount on anything you buy in the store. So you do both of those things and you win. That's all I got, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. This is John Odermatt signing off. Always remember to keep your head up and the fires of liberty burning.